Votes are in. They don't want your pity. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them. Black people, they're just like us.
Bill Maher seems to have finally reached his breaking point with Democrat voters and their endless stream of excuses for Kamala Harris's crushing defeat in last year's election. For months, he's been biting his tongue, calling out both parties when needed, but this time, he went all in. In classic Maher fashion, the comedian-turned-political commentator didn't just criticize lightly, he absolutely shredded every excuse one after another, leaving no room for spin or sugarcoating. His roast was so sharp, so unapologetically brutal, that it sent shockwaves across Democratic circles. You could almost feel the nervous laughter from his audience, because deep down, everyone knew he was saying out loud what a lot of people were already thinking. Honestly, after watching that takedown, it wouldn't be surprising if Harris isn't even on the ticket when 2028 rolls around. And that's exactly why people tune into Maher. Love him or hate him, he brings the fire. So if you're here for bold, unfiltered political commentary that doesn't tiptoe around the truth, do yourself a favor, smash that subscribe button, because we're just getting started and trust me, it's about to get heated.
Right.
Was immigration. And
inflation, immigration.
Those two are very big issues. And you asked Vice President Harris,
right,
why did you let all these people in for the last 4 years? She did not have an answer. I still don't know the answer. They actually could, with an executive order, shut it down as they did earlier this year. So why did they not do it 3 years earlier? And I think people felt she did not respond to that in any way. She had no answer on inflation, and she also seemed to represent that whole woke zone that people are sick to death of. And I think those three...
The guest wasted no time setting the stage, diving headfirst into a blistering critique of Kamala Harris's track record. Right off the bat, he tore into her handling of the southern border, calling it not just a mistake, but a flat-out failure in both leadership and accountability. He painted the picture clearly: border towns overwhelmed, resources stretched thin, and a federal response that felt more like neglect than action. And that was only the beginning. He went further, accusing Harris of cozying up to the so-called woke elite, embracing trendy rhetoric and policies that might sound good inside progressive circles but leave ordinary Americans feeling ignored and alienated. Then came the economic critique, and this one hit especially hard. Under her watch as vice president, the nation suffered through one of the most punishing waves of inflation in modern times: skyrocketing grocery bills, record-high gas prices, and crushing rent hikes that left working families scrambling just to make ends meet. And yet, through all of this, her most loyal supporters seemed blind to reality, brushing off every failure and insisting she carried no blame for the election loss. To him, that mindset wasn't just wrong, it was delusional, almost like a cult of denial where facts didn't matter. And in politics, denial like that is a recipe for disaster.
I agree with the first two, but I'm not going to get into this, oh, the people are too damn woke. That wasn't an issue. What happened?
Yeah, it was.
I disagree with you.
I know, and that's why you're going to keep losing.
No, man, look.
I mean, it's not to go. Okay.
Yeah.
But not to,
on July 21st at 1:41 p.m., when Joe Biden announced that he was going to step down, Kamala Harris had to step up. Now, what other Democrat could have stepped up in that period of time?
We're not arguing about that.
All right.
We're arguing the campaign she ran. They asked her what she would do differently. She said, I can't think of anything.
And there it was again, that same stubborn, unshakable delusion. Take Donna Brazile, for example. Even after the election results, she still refuses to acknowledge the most obvious truth staring everyone in the face: the Democrats lost because their agenda drifted so far into hyperwoke territory that everyday Americans felt abandoned. Instead of admitting this, she, like so many others in the Democratic Party, clings to denial, insisting it was something else, anything else, that caused the downfall. But Maher wasn't buying it. He laid it out plain and simple: Middle America used to trust the Democratic Party, but years of extreme policies, cultural overreach, and non-stop pandering destroyed that trust. The constant obsession with identity politics didn't bring people together, it drove them away, and not in small numbers, but in massive waves. Maher made it crystal clear: until Democrats stop lying to themselves and accept that woke ideology was a huge factor in their defeat, they'll never have a real shot at rebuilding. The clock is ticking, and the longer they stay stuck in this bubble of denial, the more they risk losing not just elections, but the core of their own base. As Maher bluntly put it, denial might feel comforting in the short run, but politically? It's slow-motion suicide.
How do we trust a party that was telling us with a straight face that Joe Biden could be president for 4 more years without any problem whatsoever? That's what the Democrats were telling us. It was a massive lie. We saw through it. Everyone saw through it.
Did you see him this week? Could you imagine if we were just starting on the next term? That was
First of all,
wandered
happy
off into
birthday, Joe
Brazilian
Biden.
rainforest.
Happy birthday. Joe Biden turned 82 this week. And Bill, I hope you're still kicking ass at 82.
And here's the kicker. If the left was willing to brazenly cover up Joe Biden's obvious mental decline and bury the truth about his son's infamous laptop, then what else are they hiding? That's the scary part. Maher pointed out how their media allies played along, practically working overtime to push fairy tales on the American public. We were told the economy was booming and better than ever, but average families saw the truth every time they filled up their gas tank or checked out at the grocery store. Rent kept climbing, bills piled up, and people realized the spin didn't match reality. And only when that narrative completely collapsed did they scramble for a scapegoat, pointing fingers at Trump's administration for problems that unfolded under their own watch. But it didn't stop there. As if that excuse wasn't insulting enough, they doubled down, blaming the exploding border crisis on Trump too, as if Americans couldn't see what was happening right in front of them. This endless blame game wasn't just frustrating, it was insulting to voters' intelligence. At every turn, the strategy was the same: dodge accountability, rewrite the past, and twist the facts to fit their storyline. Maher didn't sugarcoat it. This wasn't a case of being wrong once or twice. It was a full-blown pattern of deception. And the real question he left hanging was chilling. If they lied so shamelessly about the things we already know, just imagine what they're still hiding in the shadows.
Chief psychiatric resident at Yale University, Amanda Calhoun, recently told Joy Reid it's okay to cut off family members if they voted for Trump and tell them, I'm not going to be around you this holiday. Oh, how pure. It's like not letting certain people sit with you on the bus. She also said that it shouldn't be automatic that family members think they're entitled to your time. She said that's just a societal norm. Family. Who do they think they are? Family? I mean, think about that. A mental health professional advising people to isolate during the holidays. And don't forget to drink too much and put on weight.
That's how far off the rails the left has gone. Their obsession with woke ideals hasn't just sparked debates online, it's bled into every corner of American life, dividing communities, friendships, and even families. They've become so locked into their worldview that they can't even begin to understand one simple reality: people are allowed to have different opinions. Instead of meeting disagreement with dialogue, they treat it as if it's a sin, something unforgivable. If you don't fall in line with their ideology, you're instantly branded a villain, called an enemy, a bigot, or worse. And that kind of hostility has real consequences. We've all heard the stories: lifelong friends who stopped speaking, siblings who cut each other off, families who can't even sit down at Thanksgiving dinner without breaking into shouting matches. Believe it or not, some couples even ended marriages simply because one spouse voted for Trump. That's the level of division we're talking about. Political disagreements used to be just that, a difference in how you see the world. Today, under this woke standard, it's become grounds for total social exile. And when politics becomes more important than human connection, when party loyalty outweighs love, respect, and community, society itself begins to crumble. That's the kind of damage the far left's intolerance has done, and Maher didn't hold back in pointing it out.
And this Thanksgiving, before the big meal, remember to take turns saying what you're hateful about. You know who I really wouldn't want to have Thanksgiving dinner with? This overly educated, i.e. extremely stupid, ivory tower academic. But I would, because if we ever want this nation to heal, this is what we have to do. Force ourselves to reach out and find out why someone feels the way they do and make the choices they make without prejudging them a month.
And here's where Maher really struck a chord. He argued that if America is ever going to move forward, we have to rediscover something we've almost completely lost: the art of civil discourse. Think about it, the ability to sit down with people who don't share your political views, listen to what they have to say, and actually try to understand where they're coming from. Progress doesn't come from screaming over one another or canceling anyone who disagrees. Real progress comes from dialogue, from finding common ground even when the disagreements remain. It means respecting someone else's right to hold a different opinion, even if that opinion drives you crazy, and still being able to share the same table, the same community, the same country. Unfortunately, Maher pointed out that this lesson seems completely lost on today's left. Instead of building bridges, they've built echo chambers, shutting out anyone who challenges their narrative and vilifying those who refuse to conform. The result? A nation more divided than ever before, where disagreement isn't treated as healthy debate but as an act of betrayal. Until that changes, unity will remain nothing more than a political talking point, something politicians say during speeches but never actually achieve. And the longer we stay stuck in that cycle, the harder it becomes to rebuild what's already been broken.
Making too woke be a cancelable offense. It's important for America to have a center-left party, and for that party to be competitive. And a good first step toward that goal would be to make the voters not want to punch you in the face. I will conclude by saying the reason I'm so mad at the Democrats is because as a voter, the issues that were important to me were democracy and the environment. And now, there's no one to champion or defend either of them because you, with your aggressively anti-common sense agenda and shitty exclusionary attitude, blew it. You lost everything.
And then came the part that really drove it home. Maher insisted that wokeness itself has become toxic, something that should no longer be tolerated or excused. For years now, the self-proclaimed woke warriors have weaponized outrage, gleefully destroying the careers, reputations, and livelihoods of anyone who dared to push back or even question them. Teachers, comedians, business owners, actors, no one was safe from the wrath of cancel culture. But maybe, Maher suggested, it's time they finally get a taste of their own medicine. This isn't about revenge for the sake of it, it's about survival. If we truly care about protecting democracy, preserving culture, and holding on to common sense, then we can't allow wokeness to keep poisoning the system. The solution starts with one simple step: stop electing woke politicians. Because these aren't leaders who care about fixing the economy, strengthening democracy, or even protecting the environment they constantly claim to champion. No, their energy is spent on forcing divisive, utopian social experiments down the throats of everyday Americans. And the impact is clear: fractured communities, eroded freedoms, and a society that feels more divided every single day. The cure, Maher argued, isn't complicated. Starve the movement of power. Don't give them control, and watch their ideology collapse under the weight of its own hypocrisy. And that's exactly why Trump connected with so many voters. His policies were grounded in reality, not fantasy. He didn't lock himself in an ivory tower surrounded by academics and activists who had no clue about the struggles of working families. He got out there, he listened, and most importantly, he spoke in a way that everyday Americans understood. Whether the issue was jobs, borders, or national security, his message resonated. Voters didn't just support him, they rallied behind him, confident that he understood their frustrations and was willing to fight for them. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris came across as the complete opposite: detached, buried in elitist talking points, and stumbling through word salads that left audiences confused and unimpressed. It often felt like the Democratic Party thought her identity alone would carry her across the finish line. But Americans made it clear: representation without results isn't enough. They're done with empty platitudes. What they want are policies that improve their daily lives: affordable living, safety, opportunity, and real economic security. That's why Maher's critique cut so deep, and why Harris's downfall felt almost inevitable.